Hello and welcome to the Undergraduate Certificate in Immunology information session. Before we start, we just want to inform you that this session is being recorded and will be shared on the ICE YouTube channel, and the recording will be sent to everyone who registered for the event after the session. My name is Ola Patel and I am Head of Academic Centre Administration at the Institute of Continuing Education, also known as ICE. In this pre-recorded course information session, we also have Professor Tom Monie, Course Director for the Undergraduate Certificate in Immunology, and colleagues from the ICE marketing team will be monitoring the live Q&A box. Tonight, we'll be running a variety of online sessions to give you the opportunity to find out more about our postgraduate and undergraduate STEM courses at the Institute. In addition to our live sessions, we also have a number of video resources on our website, giving you further information on the application process, student support, and interview preparation. If you missed any of our sessions or are unavailable to attend, please don't worry, you can watch the recordings online, and they will be available on our website 24 hours after each event. Links to the events and resources are shared in the chat and will also be sent via email after this session. We strongly encourage you to join our Meet the Academics session just after this one at 7:30 p.m. And also tomorrow at the same time, please join us for our Meet the Student session to hear from our students about their experiences of learning with us. So a little bit more about ICE. We were established 150 years ago in 1873. We were the first university-led continuing education provider in the world. Today, we offer a wide range of courses to adult learners, including short courses, residential weekends, international summer programs, award-bearing undergraduate and postgraduate qualifications, covering a wide range of subject areas from archaeology to genomic medicine. ICE is a place where professional networks are formed, friendships are made, and the transformative power of learning is recognized. In this pre-recorded course information session, we have myself, Ola Patel, on behalf of the administration team, and Professor Tom Monie, Course Director for the Undergraduate Certificate in Immunology. We also have representatives from the ICE marketing team who will be monitoring the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. Shortly, we'll take you through what you can expect from the undergraduate certificate in immunology, including entry requirements, teaching style, module content, and assessment. We have time reserved at the end of this session to answer your questions, so please send us your questions for any members of the panel via the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen during this presentation. I'll now hand over to my colleague, Professor Tom Monie, Course Director for the Undergraduate Certificate in Immunology.
Thank you very much, Ola. Welcome, everybody. As Ola said, my name is Professor Tom Monie, and I'm the Course Director for our Undergraduate Certificate in Immunology. It's a course that I am passionate about, all of our staff are passionate about, and we hope that you as students, when you come and join us, will become passionate about as a topic as well. What I'm going to do over the next few minutes is just give you a sort of a flavour of some of the information that we cover, some of the material that you will learn about, and hopefully entice you to apply for the course for an October 2024 start. We've broken the course into 3 core elements, which we feel are the really important parts of immunology that, as somebody new to the topic, you will need to and want to learn about. These are the innate and adaptive immune system, the immune system in health and disease, and cancer immunology. So they make up the 3 different units through which the course is structured. They're all delivered through a range of different teaching methods, which I'll expand on in a moment. But briefly, we have some synchronous teaching sessions over Zoom for each unit, and then we have a range of online material and resources that are put into our virtual learning environment for you to engage with in your own time and at your own speed. So I'm just going to run through now each of the 3 units that we offer, and I'm going to give you an insight into the type of material that we cover. The first unit is the innate and adaptive immune system, and this is designed really to introduce you to the basic concepts in immunology and to give you an understanding of how our immune system works. You'll arrive probably not knowing an awful lot about the immune system, but hopefully you'll then finish the module with an in-depth and understandable feel for how our immune system actually functions and how it protects us as individuals. So we've broken the unit into a number of core topics. I've got these listed on the slide here. These are basic principles in immunology. They are the things that help our bodies to protect ourselves and to fight off infections. We'll pick up processes like inflammation. So what does our body do when it recognizes an infectious threat? How does it respond? We'll look at molecules called pattern recognition receptors, and these are the things that actually do that identification. They can tell us when there's a virus threatening us. They can tell us when there's a bacteria, and they can even tell us when some of our own cells aren't functioning properly. And actually, the image that I've got on the slide here is from one of these pattern recognition receptors that you find on the surface of a wide range of white blood cells in the body, and it helps to detect and respond to bacterial infection. And that's all part of the innate immune system. So a defense that stays the same regardless of the threat. But we also look at what's known as the adaptive immune system. And this is sort of the memory system that we have. It involves the role of T cells in terms of recognizing infections and in terms of responding to those. And it involves B cells, which produce antibodies that help to protect us against future infections. And we also close the unit by looking a little bit at sometimes when the immune system starts to go wrong or maybe responds in an inappropriate way. And we'll touch on the topics of hypersensitivity and autoimmunity, both of which can be quite unpleasant and uncomfortable for people that experience them. The second unit sort of builds a little bit on that idea that the immune system is important for health, but also contributes to disease. And so we'll look at a range of topics this time round where we take pathogenic conditions or we take experiences of our body and we look at how the immune system influences what happens. So the first one that we'll look at is allergy. And actually this green molecule on screen is the allergen that cats produce. So for those of you that are allergic to cats, that's the actual thing that causes you to sneeze when you go near them. It's a protein called FeLD1. So we'll look and try and understand why allergies come about, how the immune response is involved in causing that allergy to develop. But we'll also look at other elements of the immune response in disease. We'll look at the risks about acute inflammation. So we have to have inflammation to protect us from damage, but sometimes that response can be too fast and it can be too strong, or it can go on for too long. Things like septic shock, for example, are a real threat to life, and they are a byproduct of the inflammatory response not working properly. And as well as acute inflammation, which is sort of short-term inflammation over a few days, we'll look at chronic inflammation, which might be something that lasts for a number of weeks or even months, and in some cases, years. And so we use a range of case studies for particular diseases and conditions, so maybe things like Crohn's disease, possibly things like diabetes, maybe chronic heart disease, and look at how the inflammatory process in the immune system contributes to the development and the maintenance of those disease states over time. And we'll also in this unit look at the process of vaccination. We'll explore why vaccination is important, how it works, why actually for some infections we can't get vaccines that work. And we'll pull all of that together to get an understanding of how we can actually, I suppose, tinker with the immune system in a way to get it to protect us against infection. And then the third unit that we'll study focuses down in on cancer immunology. And this is a topic that has become of much more interest to immunologists over the last few years, as it's become apparent that with an aging population, more and more people will develop cancer, and therefore there are more demands on the needs to create treatments and therapies that actually will extend life for longer and in some cases potentially clear a cancer altogether. So we'll sort of split this unit into probably two main halves. One where we look at sort of what a cancer is, how cancers develop and how they interact with the immune system. So, why is it that our immune systems don't actually clear cancer cells when they are first developed. And then once we've done that, we'll move on and we'll look at some of the different types of treatment that exist for cancer, but we'll focus in on those that actually involve the immune response. So whilst we'll mention some of the classic treatments like chemotherapy and radiotherapy, the really interesting bits of this unit will be where we look at how we can use our own immune response to actually create new therapies that are specific to us as individuals and specific to the cancers that we have. We'll look at the successes that those treatments have had, the different treatments that they are relevant to, and then we'll look at the planned sort of developments in the future. So that by the time you get to the end of this unit, you should have a really strong understanding of how the immune system functions at a basic level, how it contributes to different types of health and disease, and then ultimately how in the form of a particular disease such as cancer, we can actually use the immune system to develop specific treatments for individuals in the future. So I mentioned a few slides ago the fact that we deliver the teaching through some synchronous sessions on Zoom in each unit, and also through some asynchronous material put in the virtual learning environment. That teaching is delivered by a range of different academics, all of whom are experts in their fields. A number of them are based within Cambridge and actively engaged in research. Some of them come from other universities, both within the UK and overseas. What we've looked for is people who are enthusiastic about their topics and working at the cutting edge of their discipline. And sometimes these people come from academic institutes, sometimes they come from industrial ones. The last time this course ran, we managed to get some industrial involvement that explained how cancer therapies are actually designed within an industrial pharmaceutical company. So the synchronous sessions are part of the course, but a lot of the teaching material you'll get will come in the virtual learning environment, and that takes lots of different formats. So there'll be pre-recorded lectures put there for you so that you can engage with particular topics ahead of the synchronous sessions and therefore engage more effectively in the discussion that takes place there. There'll be additional information actually put within the VLE for you to read, for you to engage with, and for you to learn about. And there'll be a wide range of recommended readings and resources for you to engage with as well. For some of the units, we have access to videos supplied by a partner of the university, and where they are on appropriate topics, we add those into the virtual learning environment as well. One thing that's really important to be aware of on this course is that there's a large amount of self-directed learning. So our role as the teaching academics is to provide core information, to provide you with guidance for where you can find out more information, and to signpost you in the direction of learning that you can engage with. But the beauty of a course like this is that we're very flexible in terms of the parts of the sort of immunology content that you want to engage with more effectively and in more detail. And so sometimes we'll have students who are extremely interested maybe in the cancer side. They'll do an awful lot of reading in that area. We'll have others maybe who are more interested in a chronic disease like Crohn's disease, or maybe just learning about how antibodies work. And so depending on where your own interests lie, we will guide you and help you with identifying that self-directed learning. And over the course of the whole program, both the taught material, the material in the virtual learning environment, your own self-directed learning, you'll probably spend about 600 hours studying immunology, which means that actually by the end of the course, you should be pretty confident in the knowledge that you hold. A lot of students are very interested to learn about the assessments that we have on a course. And on this program, we've split them into two different types. So each one of our 3 units has what we call a unit assessment. And these are short answer questions or structured questions that are just designed to test your knowledge and your understanding of the material that's been covered and taught in that unit. You will get examples of the style of questions as the units progress, and you'll have a chance to get feedback from the teaching staff on potential practice questions as well. But these are relatively straightforward questions. They're not looking for long and complex answers, but they're looking for you to be able to demonstrate how well you understand some of the material. And in some cases, there might be a small amount of sort of data handling to show that you can understand how a particular immunological technique works. And together, those unit assessments contribute to 50% of your overall course mark. And then the other half of your course mark comes from what we call portfolio assessments. And this is where you will produce 3 separate portfolio pieces that are longer and more substantive than the unit assessments. They come in a range of formats, and you actually get choice as to the type of format and the type of question that you answer. So we will give you a selection of portfolio questions or topics for each unit, and some that also cover a number of different units. And these take different formats. So some of them will be essay-based, some of them will be presentations, some might enable you to do a podcast, others might allow you to create posters or infographics. They're designed in that way to allow people who prefer to express their knowledge and their understanding in different manners to have that flexibility. Not everybody wants to write a 2,000-word essay on a subject. Some people would much rather give a 10-minute presentation about it. So that flexibility is there for you. And those 2 sets of assessments together combine to produce the entire mark for the immunology certificate. Hopefully, you've been enthused enough to actually want to go ahead and apply. That can all be done through our website. The website address is on the screen here, and I've just screenshotted that page that it will take you to. On that page, there's additional information that will help to complement some of what has been said in this presentation already, and it will help to provide additional details. Within that, there is a link that will take you into the application process for the Institute, and then you will be led through the process of applying onto the course. I should say at this point that the course is done on a first come, first serve basis. So, I would encourage you to get your applications in promptly to make sure that we don't hit a maximum capacity on the course. I'd hate for it to come about that you are really interested in applying, but just simply don't get round to it until late in the summer, and then suddenly find at that point that demand has been so high that we're already full. So please do log on to the ICE website and have a look at the course site there. Just one last thing that I want to say from a sort of an academic point of view is about what knowledge you might need to do the course and what you might be able to go on and do afterwards. So because this is taught at first-year undergraduate level, there's no requirement for you to have any particular prior knowledge in the sort of the immunology areas. But what I would say is that it's useful to have a good understanding of biology, and particularly some sort of familiarity with medical or immunology terminology. And this might be not because you've had schooling or courses in that area before, but because you have an interest in it and you do quite a lot of reading. Certainly a number of students that we've had in the past have arrived on the program interested in immunology as a topic, but without ever having been taught it before. And they have managed to engage effectively and got an awful lot of positive learning out of the program. If you are interested, one of the best ways to actually sort of help prepare yourself for the course is to read a range of popular science books that touch on the sort of the immunological processes, or on the sort of control and regulation of diseases, because they will broach topics that will come up in the course, and they'll help to introduce you to the terminology that might be covered in the material that we teach. And then what about after the course? Well, what we tend to see is that a lot of the students who take the immunology program will also choose to study our infectious disease certificate. And these 2 courses were actually designed at the same time with the intention that students would actually take both of them. So there is complementary material in the 2 different courses. But that's not the only science option that we've seen people move on to after doing immunology. In my current cohort of genetics students, we have a number there who have done the immunology course in the past, and they're expanding and broadening their scientific understanding. We've even had people who have actually taken their qualifications in immunology from ICE and gone on and incorporated it into further study elsewhere. But whatever your interests are, I hope that there's something that we can offer you in the future after you've done this program. If you're wondering about possible funding for the course or support in deciding whether it's the right one for you, then we have a dedicated enrolments team. Their contact details are on this slide, and I would encourage you to reach out to them with any inquiries that they've got. They'll either be able to handle your inquiry direct themselves, or they'll get in touch with the relevant person on the course team to get the specific information that you need. But they're a fabulous resource, and please do use them to ask any questions you have about the application process or other elements to do with studying at ICE.
Thank you very much, Tom. That brings us to the end of the pre-recorded course information session. We'll now transition to the live Q&A, where we'll answer any question you may have. Thank you. As mentioned in the chat by my marketing colleagues, for our live Q&A session this evening, we have one of our tutors, course tutors, Dr. Sarah Jackson, and one of our students' representatives, Karim Erturan. Let's have a look in the Q&A box. Let's start with the first question. How many hours a week of study there is?
I was going to say, from what Tom just presented as well, the course runs over about, I suppose, 10 weeks, but people each unit, sort of per term, so 8 to 10 weeks. So that will probably amount to about 20 to 25 hours, I would say, study. But you might want to study during weekends, and I was going to say during holidays as well, when we're not necessarily teaching, because I think generally we're monitoring things like the VLE a lot of the time. So if you have questions and want to interact with the tutors, people will be able to help you out from that perspective.
Thank you, Sarah. That's super helpful. Our next question, perhaps that might be a good one if Karim had any comments. How much interaction will I get with other students on the course outside of the synchronous teaching sessions?
Yeah, there were forums that were made for every unit and in general to tie people together, and people were talking amongst themselves there and asking questions. But also, and I think this changes cohort, sometimes the students put together their own groups as well, or the teachers encourage it. And I know that when there was a WhatsApp group, for example, with the other students, it was very busy in terms of talking and support for the different areas, coursework, etc.
Thank you, Karim. Our next question is, what happens if I can't attend one of the teaching sessions? I have an answer to that, but I will let other panelists go first if anyone would like to add anything.
I was going to say, knowing that from having taught on this course for a while, is all the sessions are recorded and are then uploaded afterwards. So you've got that ability to be able to go back and dip in and out. So even if you attended it and missed something or didn't fully understand it, you can go back and sort of re-watch, re-interact with the recording to get an idea of what went on. So yes, it's not the end of the world, and I think some people might prefer that way to build in their learning. But obviously, if you're not at the live, you do miss out on asking those questions, and then you have to rely on interacting through perhaps, say, the VLE rather than being able to ask in person, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it is all recorded, so the real benefit is how much do you want to ask your own personal questions during the actual lectures. That's what you'll miss out on the most. But if you don't necessarily want to, or feel the need that you will have your own areas you really want to address, then they're very easy to catch up on later, and you wouldn't really miss much then.
Thank you very much. Next question probably might be a good question for Sarah. Is there any specific experience I should have that would benefit my application onto the course?
To be fair, no, it probably doesn't need anything particular, as Tom outlined in the previous presentation. But probably having had an interest in biology at least GCSE level, if not A level, will just help you grasp some of the broader concepts, because immunology encompasses a lot of cell biology and molecular biology concepts that you will have been familiar with through A-level biology. But remember, we are teaching at that first year undergraduate level, so we don't expect knowledge beyond that, if that makes sense. And a bit of numeracy also helps, I find, but
Thank you, Sarah. And just to add, our certificate level courses are open to anyone. So Sarah has mentioned a strong interest in a subject area would be fantastic. Apart from that, the only requirement that we have is the English language requirement, which you can find on our website if English is not your first language. Going on to the next question, and I think Tom has touched on that. What have previous students gone on to do after completing the course? I can. Sorry,
yeah,
go on, Sarah.
Well, from what he said, there's some of the genomics, and I know some people have moved on to the infectious diseases course as well. And actually, I remember, I think for the last time we ran the course, when I asked why they had decided to do the undergraduate certificate, people were sometimes doing it to improve their, because it's academic, I was going to say it is for adult learners, so it's not necessarily aimed at your 18, 19-year-olds. It's for people coming in later who are looking at a career change and maybe want to perhaps look at medicine or some medical related fields to do other qualifications. And it's just a way of proving that they've got the learning ability and to update knowledge.
Yeah, I think the third module in the immunology program definitely, well, you touched on genetics quite strongly in that. And I think that definitely really leads on well to the genetics program, which I haven't done myself yet, but I think that makes a really good pair. But also ICE have the research diplomas. And I think if you enjoy the immunology program, it's probably like, you're probably going to have way more ideas than you're going to cover. And it's going to lead you to so many areas that you'd actually, maybe with like one of the genetics or something else as well. I'd say that it really would inspire you to maybe want to do one of the research diplomas or the advanced research diplomas later on as well.
Perfect. Thank you both very much. Just to summarize what ICE is offering at the moment in the biological sciences / STEM portfolio at the undergraduate level. So we've got certificate in immunology. So this is this certificate. We also have a paired certificate in infectious diseases, which students might want to do before or after taking this certificate. Karim has already mentioned certificate in genetics. We also have a diploma in genetics. Our diploma courses are level 5, whereas this one is level 4. And we also have a certificate and a diploma in evolutionary biology. And I think Karim has also mentioned that we do offer more research-based undergraduate courses. We've got 2 advanced diplomas. This is all on our website, so don't worry if you can't remember. And we've got 2 advanced diplomas at level 6, so this is third year undergraduate level. And these courses would offer you an opportunity to perhaps design or be supervised in your own subject area in a specific topic and perhaps do some of your own research. We've got another question come in, and this is a question to Karim specifically. Thank you. And it is asking, why did you decide to study at ICE?
Well, because I did my A levels quite a while ago, and I work now as well. going back into one of the undergraduate or master's programs wasn't really realistic, as lovely as it would have been. And my background is always in the natural sciences, biology mostly. So I decided, based on the fact that it was probably the best immunology. ICE had quite a few science programs, courses, as you just mentioned. And I considered, after looking around, they're probably by far the strongest undergraduate or this level programs that you can do part-time, at least. And the ones that you offered, for example, immunology, they're just exceptionally, they're quite advanced areas. I know that the course eases you into it if you don't have experience, but they're very, comprehensive areas of biology. And to be able to study that attached to Cambridge and part-time as well, it just, it made it a no-brainer, really, especially with like the things that it can lead on to, like the other programs. So yeah, it was quite a simple decision there.
Thank you so much, Karim, and I hope that encourages our prospective applicant to apply for the course. Our next question is possibly a good question for Sarah. Who would be leading our lectures?
So, as Tom said, it's a range of experts. In the last few years, I've been teaching in the Unit 1 course, and I particularly have ended up teaching, because I'm still doing active research myself, a lot of the techniques that we use to understand and interrogate immunology, which I think is quite important, because it's one thing learning about it, but actually learning how people study what is happening in the immune system and the immune responses and measure those sort of things makes it a lot easier to understand. I think one of the things that came out of the pandemic is everybody became quite conversant on different tests that are available to check your immunity and your responses to the vaccine and stuff. So it is quite useful to understand how these are measured and how they are routinely used by scientists. And so that first basic unit, Tom, we also had Tom taught a lot because his previous research background was very much in innate immunity. My research is into viral immune responses, so I'm quite good on also on those sort of adaptive immune responses and understanding what's happening there. And we had some other expertise that work on sort of T cells and B cells to actually impart their knowledge on those specific areas. Yeah. So it's sort of experts, and when we moved into the later topics, she's sort of getting people that are working in research areas to contribute. So people that are working in chronic inflammation or allergy, and certainly, as Tom also outlined, that when it gets to the cancer immunology, getting people that are actually working in that field, and even people in commercial companies that are working in that field to actually explain how the research underpins the knowledge that we have now.
Thank you so much, Sarah. That was really informative. I think we've got time maybe for a couple more questions before we end the session. And the next question is, how many current students studied with ICE before? Will I be at a disadvantage if this is my first ICE course? I'll let maybe Sarah go first in case there might be any students on the course who have done an ICE course before. If not, then I can try to answer.
So I got the impression that yes, some had and some hadn't. So it was a mixture of both. And I don't think it makes any difference particularly, because as Karen said, we do try to introduce you in. So if you're not used to the learning environments, I was going to say you might get there a bit faster if you've done an ICE course before, just understanding where you can get the resources from, say, the VLE, because that's is an experience in itself. It's not it's a very useful environment to have that virtual learning environment and where you can ask questions, but the level of student interaction with it can differ. So I suppose that's the only advantage you're going to get from having done a course before, is to know how, particularly if you've done the online course before, is to know how all these modules fit together.
Thank you. Karim, sorry, would you have anything to add from the student perspective?
Yeah, I don't think it particularly your advantage or disadvantage if you have done one before, other than that if you've just done one recently, you may be more in the flow of academics. There was a mix of people in the program. Some were young, some had just come out of A levels and wanted to do something for a year before going on to university. Some wanted to like bolster their chances at like applying to medicine programs. There were some people who had been out for a decade, and if that's you, then getting back into academic life can be a bit challenging. But not really, no. The course is very challenging, I would say, especially this one. It's very comprehensive, but it like I said before, it builds it from the ground up. So no advantages to having done previous ones from my experience. And this was my first one. So.
Thank you so much, Karim and Sarah. I can add, I don't know about this particular course, but a few years back, we had a lady on the certificate in genetics who was in her 80s and she did very well. So she's been out of formal education for quite a while, but she has enjoyed the course. We don't have a typical student profile. Our students are as young as 18 and go through the professional sort of career middle-aged group towards retired people who would like to do something they might be interested in. And I think we only have time for one more question. Will I be disadvantaged being in a different time zone to the UK? Are there live online lectures? Sarah, would you like to comment on that?
So yes, we have had people in slightly different time zones. I don't think they've been too out of line, but they've not been like Asia, which is sort of with looking at multiple hours out of sync with the UK. But I think it is manageable. So as we said, everything's recorded. So if it really is incompatible, your time zone is totally incompatible with the live, you can come and interact with the recording afterwards. But I was going to say it's a problem we're encompassing in our science research. So a lot more conferences for scientists, global conferences have gone online now. And so we have often had to sort of sync with the best combination. So I've been to ones where, they don't start till 3 o'clock in the afternoon and go through till 2 in the morning sort of times, so to pick up a lot of North America, but to not too disadvantage people at the other ends of it. But as I said, because everything's recorded, it's if you can make the middle of the night, if that's when it was for you, and you're happy with that, then yeah, do the live. But if not, it's recorded and you can ask questions in the VLE to clarify things as well from the tutors. So you're not losing out entirely if you're in a thoroughly different time zone.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you very much, everyone, for all your questions. This is all we have got time for today. And many thanks to both of our panelists for your excellent contributions. We are coming to the end of our session today. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this evening. And we hope that you found this session informative.